everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Alicia and I make sewing tutorials and DIY fashion videos. So some of you might be complete beginners at sewing, or some of you just totally don't know where to start. And I made this video especially for you guys. I made a sort of beginner sewing guide, and I'll be showing everything you need to know to start sewing. And I'll put a timestamp in the comments down below, like that if you're looking for something specific, like how to sew a zipper, how to sew straight, or other questions like that, just go check in the comments below and click on the timestamp. And before getting into the video, just to let you guys know that today's video is in collaboration with Julia, which is a jewelry brand. So they kindly gifted me one of their earrings and we're just going to open it together. Box is so cute! Look at this! So I got the Julia Constellation Star, and they are made out of sterling silver, which is perfect for me because I have really sensitive skin. So if I have earrings that are not hypoallergenic, my ears get infections right away. So this is perfect for me, and the design is so cute. Let's just try them on. Cute! So I actually have a discount code for you guys. I'll put it right over here. And you can use it to get a 15% discount off any jewelry on their site. Alright, so let's start with the sewing beginner guide. The first thing you need for sewing is obviously sewing tools. So the most important is to have a sewing machine, of course. Mine is the Brother XL 2600i. You'll also need some needle and thread for hand sewing, sewing scissors, a ruler, usually these come in bigger sizes for sewing, and a marker. The markers that I like using are water-soluble pens, and they just wash off with water. And these don't really show well on darker fabrics, so for that I just use some chalk. And you'll also need some pins and also a seam ripper to remove the stitches. So the last two sewing tools I recommend getting, you don't necessarily need to begin sewing, but I find it helps a lot, is a rotary cutter and a cutting mat. So basically you use this to cut fabric straight, and it's also a lot faster to cut with a rotary cutter than normal scissors. So the second thing that is absolutely mandatory to know how to sew is how to use your machine. So starting with the parts of the sewing machine, here you have the thread, and then you have the bobbin over here. This is the bobbin thread. This is the presser foot. You can lower it with this here. And this is the needle. Here we have all of the different stitches. So corresponding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you just turn the wheel over here to choose your stitch. And over here is the stitch length. These little turn wheels over here, this is going to be the stitch width, and you can also move the needle with it. This is the tension. Usually I always have it in the middle, which is a 4. This is the reverse button. And over here we have the hand wheel. So you turn it and it'll make the needle go up and down. And over here you have the pedal. So that's how you make the sewing machine start. So the first thing you have to do is thread the bobbin. So my machine actually has a automatic bobbin threader. You can see on top here there's usually pictures on how to thread it. So it depends on every machine, but for me, I loop it around this over here. And then I insert the thread inside of the little hole of the bobbin. Then I put it over here and then push it, and I can turn my machine on, press on the pedal, and it's going to start threading the bobbin. Then it'll become like this. So you just follow the picture over here. So open, and you just put it inside the casing, put the thread in here like this, and then close it. That's it. And to thread the upper bobbin, you have to pass it through here. And you follow the arrow here, put it up. It's like a little metal piece inside here. You have to make sure that that's all the way up. You loop it through, And then to thread the needle, my machine has an automatic needle threader. I bring this little thing down, and then I just take my thumb like this, and then let go of this one. You see, there's a little loop of thread, and then you can take it like that. Then the last thing to do is catching the bottom thread. So basically, you take the upper thread, you hold it with a bit of tension, and then you turn the hand wheel. And you just pull on the upper thread like that, and it's going to bring the lower thread up. And that's it. So yeah, that's pretty much all you need to know on how to use your sewing machine. So the question that's most commonly asked is how to sew straight. So once you first start using the sewing machine, your stitches will most likely be wonky. That was the same for me. So some tips that helped me sew straight was to just draw a bunch of straight lines on a piece of fabric and then sew while following the marking. And you can also do the same thing for curved lines, so just draw a curve and then just follow it with the machine. So first of all, just to explain you guys how to actually start sewing. When sewing two pieces of fabric together, they have to be right sides together. And then you always have to start a project with a back stitch. Like that, it's going to lock in the stitches. And also a little tip to sew straight. I like to use the presser foot as a guide. So I put the end of the presser foot with the end of the fabric, and I can just change where I want my needle to be, and then I just sew along the fabric. So my fourth tip is going to be on which stitch to actually use. So the two main stitches that you need for a beginner is a straight stitch and a zigzag stitch. So starting with the straight stitch, usually you'll use this with woven fabric, so that is non-stretch fabric. And for the zigzag stitches are most commonly used for knit fabric, so fabric that are stretchy. Like that with the zigzag stitch, it's actually going to keep the stretchiness of the fabric. If you try to use a straight stitch with a stretchy fabric, the stitches might break. And another use for the zigzag stitch is to prevent the fabric from fraying. And fraying is like when there's like little threads that start coming out of the fabric. So you can prevent that by sewing a zigzag stitch on the edge. So an important step on how to use your sewing machine is also how to change your needle and how to change the presser foot. So first I'll start with how to change the needle. So by using the screw that comes with your machine, I'm going to unscrew the part here. Then when it gets loose, I hold the needle so it doesn't fall, and then unscrew with my finger. Just like that. And then to put it back in, there's usually like a flat side to it. So the flat side is going to be the one facing back. You just insert it, and then I screw it back with my fingers first. And then I finish with the screwdriver. Just like that. And to change the presser foot, all you have to do is really simple. There's like a little button over here. You just boop, like that. Then you can change it. And if you want to put it back, you can just lower the presser foot and it'll do it automatically. So the most common problem that beginner sewers usually have is having the fabric get stuck in the machine or having your machine skip stitches. That's a problem I had a lot when learning how to sew. And how to fix this, you just need to change your needle. So there are actually different needle sizes. I think they go from 11 to 16. These are my needles, by the way. Basically, the thicker your fabric is, let's say like jeans, you'll want to use the biggest needle, so a 16. And the thinner your fabric is, you'll want to use a thinner needle, so like an 11. So most likely if your fabric is getting stuck in the sewing machine, that's because your needle is too big, so you have to downsize the needle. And if you're skipping stitches, it's probably because your needle is too small, so you need to switch to a bigger needle. And my next tip is to show you how to hem. So hemming is just how you finish the ends of your fabric. So the first one is the easiest one, is the folded hem. So basically you just fold it up once and then you sew straight across. And this is most commonly used for, I would say, knit fabrics. And then the second one is the serge and sew. So usually you would use a serger to finish off the edges, but as I explained earlier, you can also use a zigzag stitch. So you'll use this for fabric that tend to fray. You finish it off with a zigzag stitch and then fold it once and then sew straight across. And then the third one is my personal favorite, is the folded double hem, because it just looks the most professional. So with this one, you'll most likely use it on woven fabrics. And to do this one, you just have to fold it in once, and then fold it a second time, and then sew straight across. And it leaves a clean finish with no raw edges. So next, I'm going to be showing you guys my 3 main sewing techniques. So the first one I use a lot in my videos is how to ruffle. So to do that, you're going to want to sew a basting stitch, which is a straight stitch with the longest stitch setting. So for me, that is a 4. And you leave enough thread at both ends, like that when you take one of the threads, you can pull on the fabric and it'll start gathering to create some ruffles. And the second is how to make a buttonhole. So to make a buttonhole, you're going to need a buttonhole foot. Mine came with my machine already. So the button, you have to put it in this little slider over here. And you have to replace the presser foot with it. So you take it out, and then you can just place the buttonhole foot under. Like that. So for the settings, you'll want it to be on the buttonhole stitch. Mine is the number 1. So like that. You'll want to play with the stitch length and the stitch width. I think a stitch length of 1 and a stitch width of 3 is perfectly fine. And one important thing to do is the thing I always forget. There's a little slider over here, and you see it has the buttonhole stitch engraved on it, and you have to push it before starting. And then you just press on the pedal and it's going to do the whole buttonhole for you. It'll turn out something like this, and then you can just cut a little opening on the inside, then your button can go through. And then the third, which is the most complicated, but I think every sewist has to go through it, is how to sew a zipper. So the first thing you'll want to do is turn it right side to right side, and then you'll sew this over here. So you'll want to change your presser foot for a zipper foot. So this will allow you to sew as close as possible to the zipper. And then when I get to the zipper head, I bring up the presser foot and then zip it back up. And then continue sewing. So you can flip it back. Then you'll want to put the right side on the right side of the other fabric. Like this, and then sew the other side. So the inside should look like this. Now you just have to sew down here together. So put the 2 pieces of fabric right sides together and sew it closed. And just like that, the zipper is done. Many of you might be questioning which sewing machine you need to get. So I would recommend mine over here. It is the Brother XL 2600i. It is perfect for beginners, and it has lasted me over 3 years now and is still working very well. So my suggestion for other sewing machines are, well, the 2 main brands that I know of is Singer and Brother. So if you go with those sewing machines, you'll probably be fine. So the functions that I find are absolutely necessary to have is, well, first of all, to have a straight stitch and zigzag stitch function. Also a automatic needle threader. That helps so much. It makes the sewing process so much faster. And also a automatic needle threader. Like that, you don't need to try like multiple times to put the thread in the needle. It'll just do it for you. And my last tip is maintenance. So basically you just need to take the dust out and also oil your machine. I read that it needs to be maintained every month, but I have sadly only did it once in the past 3 years of owning my machine. I know it's really bad. Since it's been a while since I haven't maintained it, I'm going to be cleaning it with you guys. So the first thing to do, you have to turn off your machine and unplug it. Then you have to remove the presser foot holder and the needle. Then you take off the needle plate cover. Oh, it's so dirty! To clean, I'm going to use this little brush. This also came with my machine. Then you remove the 2 little screws by using a coin. And then basically you just have to clean the inside of the bobbin area. So you have to remove the needle plate cover, And then you take out the bobbin case, and then you can clean the inside. Alright, let's clean. Oh wow. Look at this. So some machines you have to oil them, but this depends. It says mine to not put any oil, so I'm going to skip that step. And there we go, it's much cleaner now. So for sure I couldn't remove all of the dust, but this is as much as I could do. Then you just put everything back and then we're done with the maintenance. So that was all the info you need to start sewing. I hope that this was helpful to you guys. So I also made a beginner sewing playlist if you want to check it out. It's some quick and easy tutorials that I'm sure you guys will love to recreate. And if you have any more questions about sewing or other technical stuff you guys are curious about, you can put it down in the comments down below and I'll try to answer as much as possible. And don't forget, if you want to shop at Julia is where I got my earrings. I have a 15% discount code for you guys. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Bye.